Welcome back to the Contagious Victories podcast. I am talking today with Abby Lewis. Abby, welcome to the show. You're a listener who's now a guest, and I love that.
It's the best. Oh my gosh, what a dream come true. How exciting. It's good to be here.
It is very nice to have you. I know that you have touched other people who have already been on the show's lives. That's how we've got connected. And I'm so curious and excited to hear your story. You have multiple victory stories that you can talk about today. And I'm just very curious to hear about how God has blessed you up until this point. So go ahead and tell us about your business first, and then just also who you are as a woman, a creator. Go ahead and tell us about yourself.
Wow, wonderful. Yeah, so I have been doing wedding photography for a while now, probably almost 10 years, which is crazy.
Okay.
But yeah, I studied visual communication technology in Bowling Green, which is in Northern Ohio. And so that's where I
Okay.
started. And I got an internship when I was just a sophomore in college, but it was with a really well-known wedding photographer. And it was like three guys, and they just kind of became my big brothers and mentored me. And I got to do a bunch of weddings that year. So that just made me fall in love with weddings. So I've been doing that ever since. And I really liked the marketing side. And so for the first few years after I graduated, I was in the marketing sector and did photography on the side. And then just recently decided to just make the plunge and do weddings full time. So yeah, it's been great.
And now it's your business. And so there's a little bit more ownership of that. That's
Yeah.
wonderful. That's really great. So congratulations for
Thank you.
that. And so let's go back to the beginning. Well, what got you ultimately interested in picking up that camera?
Yeah. So it was pretty similar to a lot of people. I think I was a lot younger, and my sister, who uh, was just like, she was my big sister. I wanted to be just like her in so many ways. She took a photography class in high school. And I just remember thinking, like, wow, this is so cool. Look at the things she can create, and the ways that she was doing it. So I started taking pictures, and it's just always of, flowers and butterflies at first. And then it became, wanting to like pose people and take pictures of my friends and take it on adventures and traveling. So that was, I think, the first thing. And then it shifted to just portraits when I kind of realized, like, capturing a season of somebody's life is like some of the most important photos that you can have. And like, taking you back to that moment in time, that all of those feelings that were associated with it. And yeah, so I really liked that. I think that was my big push to actually study it in college and learn more about the trade. So that's kind of how I got started with it. And then weddings just are the best day of everybody's life. So that's how I was kind of like, I think I want to do weddings because it's the dream. And the only thing that lasts past the wedding day is like your photos and videos. So I always tell people, like, if you're going to invest in anything, that's what you should invest in.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And that's basically what my photographer told me. Capturing those days are the things that do live on forever.
Mm.
And I can also say that as a wife, I watch my wedding video and look at my wedding photos at least once a month.
Yeah.
It is a ritual like that I do. It just, so yes, if you're getting married, you definitely want to hire the best possible wedding photographer and wedding videographer, or combination of the two that you possibly can, because those moments, the way that they're captured are going to be the way that you remember those memories. So is that what makes captured photography so special? Like, tell us a little bit about just what you bring to your now business
Mm.
that is your own flavor, if you want to say that, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, like, something that's kind of tough with wedding photography is it's like a pretty oversaturated market. And so I feel like there's so many photographers, there's so many people that are starting out. There are people that have been doing it for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. So pretty early on, it was like clear that we needed to have something a little bit different. Um, and a big part of that is just our personalities. We're like, I'm a hype girl. I'm high energy. I, love connecting with people, love making people feel comfortable. And so I think there's the side that is posing and photography and editing and having something look pretty, which a lot of people can do. But I think what I hope I bring to the table is just making people feel comfortable in front of the camera. And then alongside that, like, just a little different thing that we do is we're really passionate about like giving back. And so for me, that looks like things that I'm passionate about. So I have Crohn's disease. So we give back to the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation every year, which is really
Oh,
cool.
wow.
And then we just have a lot of really close friends and family that um, like foster and adopt kids. And so we give like discounts for that. So that's just kind of a
Oh,
cool
that's
thing
really
that,
unique.
yeah, that we've just started doing. And it's just been nice to find ways that it's like, oh, how can we incorporate things that are part of us and things that we're passionate about and put that into the business. So yeah, that's been cool.
Oh, that is the first I've ever heard of having very specific discounts and offerings to people and families that could use your services that you don't see typical discounts for. And it's inviting them to come into your story and like, have the product or offering that you offer, but also it gives another point of talking about it and bringing the awareness and advocacy for it back into the conversation. What a really, truly unique way to do that. I need to incorporate that into our business. I love that.
Yeah. I feel like it's cool because I think you hear of businesses all the time. Like you have like a military discount, which is
Yeah.
awesome, or you have like all of these other things. So I was kind of just like, yeah, why not do that for other areas that need, that kind of support?
So you have that freedom to do that because now this is yours and you can make it whatever you want it to be.
Yeah. I think it's cool to see how like some of it is just trends. Like things have shifted a lot since I started doing the photography.
Yeah.
So some of it is just knowing like what to offer to set yourself apart. Even like with marketing and with social media and all this stuff. But I think like one thing that I've noticed a lot from when I had that internship is the guys that I worked for just went above and beyond like socially with everybody that they worked with. And so like when
Okay.
they did a wedding, it wasn't just about the bride and groom. They're like making the mom feel like $1 million. They're talking to the bridal party. They're like doing all of these things. And I feel like that's one thing I learned like one of my bosses, Ben, he said like every event or session that you do is an interview for your next session. And I like never forgot
Ooh.
that because it's like these are all of these people that are interacting with you and seeing the way you work. And that's who they want to hire, like once they get engaged or when they want family photos or whatever. So that was something I was like, yeah, that's a big thing. And I try to remember that when I'm interacting with like a ton of people in one space, like a wedding.
Yes. And what a great lens to be looking through.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about like marketing too for the wedding industry. Because, yes, you mentioned earlier that there are a lot of wedding photographers. I'm not one, so I don't
Right.
know the saturation of that space. I admire it. I love to admire it. And I also know that you do have to find ways to stand out and things like that. But to put on that lens of like, hey, when I am at a wedding, all of these people who are in the wedding, they might need a wedding photographer too. And like, I know that the moms who are the flower girls or the grooms,
Yes.
little grooms, they might need a family portrait photographer soon. So yes, having that awareness that it's not just a photography business, but now it's getting into PR in a way that's very unique. Well, I also want to talk a little bit more about Abby because yes, we have the business part, but you also, as a woman, have overcame things, and you're a dog lady. You have dogs, so you love dogs like me. It sounds like.
Yeah.
Tell me more about you. Like, I feel like because we know each other through the online space, and because I think we have a couple people that we've interacted with, we don't know much about each other. So I want to hear about Abby. Like, tell me about Abby.
Oh, yay. Okay, good. Well, yes, let's see. I didn't even think much about myself. But yes, I am a dog person, very, very big into dogs. My husband and I have had a rescue Bernese Mountain Dog for about 4 years. He's very sweet. He's a
Oh,
bear. He's a big boy. Um,
oh,
but yeah, we're super into like rescue animals and I've always been an animal person. So that's another thing with the business I love is when we get to work with dogs, which is the best. But what else about me? I've been
um,
married for almost 7 years. That is crazy.
oh,
That's insane. I feel like especially with COVID, I think I've just been saying that I'm 24 for like 6 years and I don't even know how old I am anymore.
I feel that. I feel that. Yes, I definitely know what you mean.
I'm
So,
like, no
did
idea.
y'all,
7 years. That's crazy. So yeah, we've been together
how'd y'all
10 years.
meet?
What'd you say?
How did y'all meet?
We met in college. So yes, we went to a college in Northern Ohio. And it was just one of those crazy things where I was in like the student union with a friend, and he walked by because they like knew each other, and he met me and we went to the same church. And then this is wild. We found out later that our dads actually knew each other in college. So like our dads were friends for like 25 years. It is like the
What?
smallest world. It's so crazy. And they both like worked for churches. It's just wild. So yeah, so Caleb and I met through Bowling Green, and then we like dated for a few years. We got married right out of college, and we moved away. We moved to Madison, Wisconsin for a few years. We actually were part of a church at Bowling Green, and that
Oh, wow.
church did a church plant in Madison, Wisconsin. So we just went on the church plant. We committed to 2 years, ended up staying for 3 years. It was like a wonderful experience, made like lifelong friends. And then it was just one of those natural things where the church was doing really well and we were ready to like move on with our lives in ministry. And so came back to Ohio so we could be closer to family. And now we're on another church plant in Southern Ohio.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, wow. That's two victory stories, it sounds like, of just taking a step in faith and going somewhere new and planting, yes, a church, planting your roots, planting were y'all, it sounds like y'all were newlyweds, at least for a little bit of this time and stuff. I mean, that's amazing, Abby. That's really neat.
Yeah, it's been really rewarding. It's cool to see like I feel like the things that the Lord is doing that are totally not us, you know, like I mean it's the same with the business, but I'm like we have like a hand in it and it's really cool to see what he's doing, but like the things that we're just like along for the ride. We're jumping in the van, he's driving. Like
Yeah. Jesus, take the wheel. And
yeah.
yes, yes. So you have moved to several different new places, and have you had the business the whole time? I know you said you helped plant the churches there. What has it looked like to be a business owner who has had new markets, if that's the case? And elaborate a little bit on that.
Yeah, the new markets was really tough. I think like it's especially with different seasons. Like even when I was in college and I was way in northern Ohio, there was so much easy markets because it was like I was doing senior photos, I was doing like couple photos, all of these things with people that were in the vicinity. And then when we moved to Madison, it was kind of like you're starting from square one. You don't have those connections. And I relate it all the time to like I feel like real estate agents oftentimes like they get their next clients from referrals constantly. And I think
Yeah.
photography is really similar. Like it's like so much is referral, so much is past clients, so much is whatever. So yeah, it was wild going to Madison and having nothing. And I would like come back to Ohio here and there, but it was really just starting from square one. So a lot of it was like strategy wise, I was like getting into Facebook groups, like when that was a big thing. And I
Oh,
was
yeah,
saying,
that's a
like,
good
you
idea.
know, like moms of Madison, Wisconsin, like, I'll do family sessions, I'll do weddings, I'll do whatever. And I contacted a few high schools for like senior photos just to see if they needed a photographer. So, yeah, I had to get creative because I wasn't like I had all these connections from growing up or connections from college. But yeah, that was tough. But we had a lot of really cool weddings there. And then moving back to Ohio, it was like unbelievably that's what made me able to quit my job and be able to do it full time because it was just like the explosion of past connections like somebody I went to high school with,
Oh, yeah.
somebody that I worked at Cold Stone with, like all of these people that came out of the woodwork because I was back in
It was like
Ohio.
seeds that were planted
Yeah.
now have sprouted, and you have that garden to come back to of new possibilities. It sounds like even though you were moving back to an old place, you still had a lot of planted seeds that now were able to support what you were doing at that season. And
Yeah.
isn't that so beautiful to be able to have that be even a lesson in itself as a part of your story?
Yeah, it was amazing. It was just really cool to have like, you're always nervous when you come to a new place and I'm like, I haven't talked to these people in years, like I don't know, but yeah, just picked up right where we left off, doing family photos for people that had one kid 6 years ago and now they have five kids, like it's just
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, I know that you in your bio said you are a fan of miracles.
Mm.
I want to know what makes you a fan of miracles. Can you tell me why you're a fan of miracles?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, I think um a big part of like my like story and my journey has just been like the way that like God has moved in my life and the way that he's moved in other people's lives and a big way that um we connect with other people is seeing like the things that Jesus has done to like completely turn around their lives. And that's a miracle in itself, you know. So I think, you know, there are things that you hear about in the Bible, like these old miracles that happen. And I think a lot of people underestimate the fact that every day Jesus is doing new things in people's lives, and that he's not only doing physical miracles, healing people and all of this stuff. I think that he is yeah, like pulling people out of really dark places. And I mean, he did that in my life, he did that in my husband's life. So many of our friends have just been saved by him. So yeah, that's a big part of, you know, who I am. I think, yeah, amen. I just think like in terms of we put that on our business page because I think, you know, there are so many things that small and big Jesus had a hand in, and you know, we wouldn't be here without him. And so yeah, I just put that little note in there to remind people that if it wasn't for him, the business wouldn't even exist. You know, it just wouldn't even be here, and I don't think it would be a success. And so it's a true gift. I mean, I'm really grateful for it. But yeah, that's why that's in the bio.
Okay. It sounds like what you're saying is just like those seeds that were planted when you came back. Like that's a miracle. That's every day you wake up, that's a miracle. And being pulled out of dark situations, whether they be, you know, health situations, mental situations, family situations, business situations, every day that you have bread to eat is a miracle. And we aren't made for death. That's a miracle. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
so yes, that's amazing. That I was curious. So I wanted to touch on that and ask
Yeah.
a little bit about that, but just kind of elaborate on why you chose to do that.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's a tough thing to decide because I feel like there's a huge like wave of fear, you know, like of the backlash of what that could look like, or people that have had a lot of like stereotypes or poor situations or whatever. But yeah, I think for me, a big part of why I don't shy away from it is because like even in my own life and in my own story, I've experienced good, bad, ugly, you know, whatever you can call it, experiences with faith. But ultimately, like, it wasn't until I met Jesus and knew him that I understood what it was like to feel true love and to feel true freedom. And so, in order to like show that to other people, I can't shy away from it. You know,
Yeah.
like it's just, it's
Yeah.
not only something that we're commanded to do, but it's something that there's no reason to hide it. And so yeah, I don't think I'm like, you know, the best in the world at being like Jesus loves you. I think it is true that there's something really unique and special about having a faith-based foundation. And honestly, like I think that it takes the pressure off a lot when it comes to running your
Huh.
business, that you understand like, you know, this is one part of my identity, but it's not my ultimate identity. And
Right.
knowing that like the world isn't going to crumble if I don't book 27 weddings next year, and I'm not going to, you know, my entire worth isn't based off of how many likes I get on Instagram. Like it just takes off this pressure and this like fear of man, fear of comparison. And so I think it's been actually like not only just good for my own sanity, but I think just like for a lot of things. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I have noticed business people who are speaking openly about it, and growing up it just seemed like you were supposed to have that separation. But the people that I love talking to are the ones that are open and saying like, this is who I am. I'm a believer first, like you mentioned, and this business is a miracle because if, you know, if there wasn't call to help people first in my life, then this business wouldn't even be like, I wouldn't be showing up to whatever
Right.
business X or whatever, you know, but because we have that, then I mean, we can serve the Lord anywhere, but at the same time, why not have it be in a place that you can talk about him freely and like, you know, share other people's stories who do talk about him freely and photograph moments that include the love that he has blessed couples with.
Mhm.
And just, yeah, like I love that you have incorporated that both into your bio and that you continue to do that with your photos.
Yeah.
So I know that we talked a little bit about what makes captured photography so special. What are some of your favorite photos to take?
Yeah, yeah. So I feel like I have the cop out is like just pictures of the couple, of course. Everybody loves doing that. But I think something that I've loved lately is when I get to see something that's different in a wedding, because like there's just so many weddings that there's like no offense at all to anyone, but it's like a lot of times it can be mundane where it's like you have the couple, you have a bridal party, you have the cake cutting, whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm loving that, especially in the last couple of years, people have like gone away from tradition a little bit and they're like, let's incorporate, these different things. So I got to do like a like Jewish wedding, and that was really cool. And they had like part Jewish and the wife wasn't Jewish, but they still did like really fun things. Like they did the hora, and I did a Greek wedding and they had like the Greek dancing. And my favorite that I've done was like, I'm like, oh, I'm never going to forget this. The bride was from the US, but the groom was from Ireland. And so like so much of the dancing was like this Irish music, and they were like so loud, and all the guys were like, going around in a circle and dancing, and they like ended the night. Everybody sang the parting glass. It was just like so beautiful. And like one of those things that I'm like, if not for a job like this, I would have never experienced something this like memorable and amazing. And then to capture that and know like people are going to hear the parting glass in their head when they see that picture, or like, they're going to, yeah. So I feel like that's been really cool. Those are my favorite things to capture, like the super different, things that I would have never even known happen at some of those weddings. So
yeah. So just the diversity of weddings that you capture, they're teaching you things and teaching you about different people and showing the personalities at these weddings that you may have not have gotten an invite to, but now you're there because you're capturing them and you're the photographer, and you're just getting to just see it all from the perspective of like a fly on the wall or whatever, like being the photographer. So like that's one of the things that's so beautiful about having that camera in your hand, is seeing it from not just Abby, but also as the person who has experienced the wedding itself. Like you want that sound of the glass whenever you see that photo, like, and that's just such a beautiful way to answer that question. I haven't gotten an answer like that. And yeah, that makes me want to go and try to crash some weddings.
I know, crash
as
a wedding.
Yeah. But cool. Well, I want to know too, you're a husband and wife team, right?
Yeah. It was like mostly me, and then I just started needing help. Like I was working a full-time job, and I was doing photos, and so I just needed help. Like I feel like it was one of those, it was a good humbling moment for me to understand that I'm a big picture girly, and I needed like somebody to help with the admin side and the finances. And my husband has a full-time job too, but yes, he just like helped out a ton. I feel like I call him like the brains of the organization, because he just like knows to help me have like boundaries, and helps a lot with admin, helps with the finances. So yes, that's how we started out. And then he also started second shooting for me when I first started. So that was really fun that we could travel to weddings together and have that. And since then, it's just like, it's grown so much. He actually just started a PhD program. And so he's been like, yes, yay, Caleb. So he's been doing less weddings. And we have a team of like 5 second shooters now. So it's just like, it blew up really quick. But yeah, it's been really fun. All the second shooters are amazing. They're like super talented, wonderful, wonderful photographers. And they've done like 2 or 3 seasons with us now. So we're getting to know each other like personally and professionally. So yeah, that's been really fun. But yeah, Caleb still shoots like about 5 or 6 weddings a year. So we still get to shoot together sometimes. But yeah, it's a bigger team now, which is wild.
Well, yeah, I was going to say congratulations. I didn't realize that you had so many second shooters. Yeah. And what another victory in itself of just having that grow from being your dream, bringing your husband on board to help out in areas that you maybe needed some extra assistance with, and then having the time that you can spend with your husband while at work. I know that a lot of people don't understand that that's such a special thing. Like it's a very delicate, but also really special thing to be able to spend that time together, and also to be able to grow from that, from going from 2 to even further, and helping other people to reach their dreams of being, a wedding photographer, or helping you with your business, and just being able to do that. Yeah. So, but but kudos to you for having the space to be able to bring people on like that. Like that is no small feat. That is huge.
Yeah, it was
And
like
I'm sure
terrifying at the beginning.
I was gonna say, I'm sure that was something that, yeah, felt uncomfortable at first because I've never like experienced that. So I don't even know. Can you elaborate on what that looked like when you knew maybe it was time to do that?
A huge part of it was just like a trust leap, because I think so much, kind of like I touched on before, so much of selling the business is selling yourself. Like I'm like, people hire me because of the personality and because of how organized or whatever it is. And so to say like, I'm going to bring someone else into that brand, if you will, and hope that they can do
Yeah.
the same thing. There's only so much you can know about a person from an interview and a portfolio. So part of it was just a huge leap of faith. Um, but it was really helpful to know like a lot of the people we hired were people that were recommendations from other like photographers that I was friends with. So I knew like, okay, you worked with Sophie, you loved Sophie, now I love Sophie and I'm obsessed with her. But like, that kind of thing
That
where,
trust.
yeah, there was that trust.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, some of it is just knowing that like when I was an intern years and years ago, those guys took a risk with me and trained me up. Like, I'm not hiring a super well known, knows everything photographer. I'm hiring, a student that I can help, and understanding that that's what that looks like. So it's been really cool. It's been rewarding. And like so much of it, like these people just know so much more than me. Like, I'm like, what's this? How did you make a story with multiple pictures on it? How did you how did you make a
Yeah.
reel? Like all these things they're teaching me is like blowing my mind. And the equipment that they have, like that girl Sophie I mentioned, she like finally convinced me to get this new lens, and she was like, Abby, it's time, like you just got to do it. But it's
Yeah.
people like that have just been, yeah, it's been great. So it was hard to know like when it was time, but so much of our packages have a second photographer in them, and like Caleb had to step back for a few, so I just knew like I had to have somebody
That was
else.
time.
Yeah.
Well, that's good advice too, to have that openness to know when you're ready. Like, hey, this is the knock on the door and I'm going to answer it now. So that's good advice to even someone like myself who works with their spouse and who is, entertained the idea of bringing another person on to help, but didn't really know on, because I'm still in that place of like, when should I be? Like, is there a certain thing? And it's like, nope, when you're ready. And I think looking back to in other areas like marriage or something like that, it's like, no, when they're the one. Like, it's going to be scary, but don't be scared. Just be faith filled and have that faith. And faith's so hard, like,
I know.
and then you can just take that leap and be ready to bring someone else into your baby, which is your business. So thanks for sharing a little bit of light on that. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I always like to ask people because so much of things are word of mouth, like you mentioned, and the world is so big, and we hear about things that might inspire someone else that we know or influence the life of a friend. And it's because of people having conversations that we get to tell people about these things that we're loving lately and that are making our lives better. So outside of the business, outside of your doggo and your husband and working with your business at Captured Photography, what is inspiring you, or what are you loving right now? Are there any podcasts or books or just games or anything at all that you are just lit up by right now?
Yes. Oh, that's a good question. I have two books that I really love that I read.
Okay.
One of them I read annually, which is crazy. I just think it's such a good reminder. Whether you're like, it's good for business, but I think it's great personally. It's called Keep It Shut.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's good. It's kind of like what to say, how to say things, when to keep your mouth shut, like that kind of thing. It's by Karen Eman, I think is how you pronounce her name.
Okay. Keep it shut.
Yeah, but it's
That
like
seems like
it's one of those books that I feel like it challenges you in different seasons. Like I think sometimes I'm in a season where I'm like, "Ooh, I might have overshared, or I might have, maybe talked a little bit too negatively about a situation that I'd rather be positive about, or how to phrase something when I don't really understand how to phrase it well." But that book I've really, really loved. I read that one a lot. And then the other one that has really shifted, I like am still trying to figure out what the rhythms look like, but it's shifted the way that I look at my time. It's called The Common
okay.
Rule. Um, I think it's Justin Early, I'm pretty sure. But
Okay.
it's a lot about like forming habits in an age of distraction. And so some of the things are like how you look at your day, how you look at your week, and how you look at your month. And
Okay.
what it means to not be super distracted. A lot of it is about like social media and your phone. So little habits that you can start that aren't super daunting or like too difficult to achieve that you give them up. So like one of them for me was like I don't go to sleep with like my phone accessible to me. It's like across the room. And that's like totally changed. Like I don't just wake up and like doom scroll for 2 hours. It's just wild. Like yeah, that's a really
Yeah.
good one.
Yeah. I love that. I'm a firm believer in that too. And anything that can make my ADD life easier. Like, it's not even about, I mean, I want to be productive, but it's not even about productivity. It's more like the way you feel. And yes, having that phone not be the first thing that's like, whether it be social media, email, you know, a notification,
Yeah.
but having that just not be the first thing like that you see at the very beginning of your day, first thing when you wake up, has definitely changed the feeling of the first 15 minutes of every day, right?
Yes.
Like,
It's like
so
insane how, and
absolutely.
I think his, like, he has a couple of them, like, he'll fast for like a day, like 1 day a week. He doesn't use his phone or like whatever. And I'm not that good, but I've been like, oh, I'm not going to use my phone for this hour every single day. And just knowing that,
Oh,
like,
that's good.
it's not even in the room. I can't even access it, whatever. And if I miss a call, the world didn't shut down. It's okay. Like,
Yeah.
it's not the end of the world. So, yeah, those have both been really good. And especially because, like, I mean, I think a lot of business owners have this where like you never really have like a true day off or a true like busy or fast season. It's like always go, go, go all the time. And um we're constantly fighting on ways to not burn out and to still have a passion for what we're doing. And so I read that book and it was really helpful for like knowing what it looks like to have little breaks or um to yeah, find time for the things that matter. It's been really great. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to look up both of them and then tell me a little bit more. I know you elaborated a little bit on Keep It Shut, but why that book? Like, why? Because that one's the one that when you said it, I was like, I don't even know what this is about, but I can tell I'm gonna like it. Like, so tell me, what was your biggest takeaway from that?
Yeah, so I think my biggest takeaway from that was there are so many good chapters, but one of them talks a lot about what it looks like to make space and conversations. And it's just a simple like thing that I feel like a lot of people understand how to do. But for somebody like me who's like an extreme extrovert, wants to be life of the party, always trying to talk about the next thing, um, it was just like literally about like, I mean, I think that there's a little tool in there. It's something about creating space and conversations for somebody else to share something, and that you don't have to be the person that's like constantly talking. And it's a small thing, but I've noticed it when I'm sitting in a group of like 5 or 6 people that I'm like, I don't have to be the one to dominate this conversation. I don't have to be the one to keep it carrying over. And I just like count to 5 in my head. And wouldn't you know it, other people have things to share. And like it's great. And you can still be part of the conversation and feel like you're part of the group without being the one to like own the whole thing. And I think sometimes that would like be almost a burden to me in parties where I was like, oh, I feel like I have to be on and I have to be like thinking of new things and running everything, but it's just not true. Like,
Yes, and that tool of counting to 5, that seems really simple, but I've never heard of that in the way of conversation of like letting other people talk.
yeah.
And I know I could use that, especially even as a podcast host, because sometimes it's just your natural instinct to be like, yeah, or like, and so, yes, count to 5. And that's a good tool and takeaway of how to just leave the space to learn and to bring in new, to take it back to photography, new light, like in
Yeah.
that way. So good advice. Thank you for
Yeah.
elaborating
Yeah.
more on that. And I'm going to get that book. There's
Yes.
some of
You
them
have
where
to
I'm
tell
like,
me if
okay,
you like it.
okay, I will. I will. And I'm a reader too. So, yes, I
Yeah.
appreciate the recommendations. And for sure, the Keep It Shut, it's going to go on my next buy. So
Yes. Yes.
thanks for being willing to share that. Yeah.
Yeah. No problem.
Well, I do want to also say a little shout out to someone who was on the show earlier, AJ, she voice messaged me and said, "Hey, I just want to let you know, Abby from so captured photo, but captured photography. She reached out and she said she listened to the episode, and it was a real and fulfilled. I always like to say that, real and fulfilled moment for me, Abby, because it was like, what? Someone who I'm having on later has like reached out to you, who made you feel good and like celebrated your victory. And also you're coming back to me saying like, this is exciting. Someone I don't know listened to my episode and it inspired them. And now like, I don't know, it's a full circle. It's like we're all connected by these little red strings and stuff. And it is so important to me. That is why I wanted to create Contagious Victories, to hear other people's stories, and then also like share them with other people. So like, I don't know, being someone who worked in news, I couldn't just put my family and friends in all the news stories. So that's why like Contagious Victories came about. But these positive stories deserve to inspire other people. And so I'm glad you came on. I'm glad you reached out to me. I'm glad you reached out to AJ. I know that was it India who y'all worked together? Or
yeah, India.
Is that how y'all knew each other? Okay, because I was trying to find the thread, and it's like, this is amazing. And so from the bottom of my heart, Abby, thank you. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for reaching out. Thank you for being a listener, and for taking the risk in your own life and on your own story, because we all have amazing stories. And then it's just another level of courage and love to show up and share them with people that you don't even know. Like, and now we do know each other.
Yeah.
And it's just a brave thing to reach out. And I'm so glad you reached out to me. So
yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, it's just the best to have these connections too. I'm just like, I feel like, especially with your podcast, it feels like this like little community, you know, like it's not only the good news, but it's like this little community that I'm like, oh my gosh, now I have all these friends from all over the place. And it feels like we're all just sitting in your living room drinking coffee. But yeah, exactly.
Water today. But yeah, I know that's what I was hoping to create the space for. And yes, I'm trying so hard to celebrate these people who are all over the place, all over the world, hopefully one day if we dream big enough, but definitely all over the US. And for you to take your own leap of faith and to move when God called you to move, and to start a business when you felt called to start the business and when God told you to start that business. And even the thing of like reaching out on Instagram to a stranger, me saying, hey, I'm listening, to my friend on your show, and like, this is awesome and stuff like that. So just the little victories. AJ telling me with that voice message, thank you. Thank you. And this is all what it's about. And I'm so happy to give it back to God. He created us to celebrate our lives and to celebrate him and to touch people and to show up in faith. And that is what this is a reminder of to both myself and to anyone who tunes in. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And is there anything else you want to share? I know I'm tossing the mic back, and now I've even thrown the whole world thing out there. So you have a microphone. Do you want to share any little tidbits or little touchstones of wisdom that could help your past self or anyone tuning in?
Oh goodness. I don't think I have anything except like, I like the idea of the advice thing. I think if there's anything I could say, if there's anybody out there wanting to start your business or to keep it going, I think like, if there's anything I've learned in this business, it's that comparing yourself to others is like such a thief of joy. I think we've all learned that the hard way in a lot of ways, and it can be a cancer to your mental health. It can be a cancer to, your business. So I just think be yourself. It's the smallest, most easy thing to do. But if you be yourself, if you just, understand what it means to that you were created with a purpose and created uniquely, then it's going to be fine. Just be yourself. Go start that business. Buy the ice cream truck, But yeah, I think that's all I would say. That's the thing that I've learned that has helped me the most, is just to stop trying to be somebody I'm not. So that's mine.
Yeah. Well, you are capturing people who are themselves, and you're doing a very good job at making them feel comfortable when you do it. So keep being Abby. And thank you, Abby, for showing up and for sharing your victory stories, multiple, with us today. And I am inspired by the belief in miracles that you share so openly in all of the different aspects of your life. So I feel like I can take that into the world and do anything. So thank you for reminding me of how good God is to all all of us, all like at all times. So we're never alone. We're always with him. And thank you for sharing up and being Abby and for letting me get to know you better. This has been awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a joy. I'm excited to keep the friendship going.
Yeah, me too. And I want to know where we can send people who want to get to know your work a little bit better. So where can we find you online? Because I mean, we're friends now, so I'm
Yeah.
already following you. But where can anyone who wants to so bravely and courageously reach out and say, "Hey, Abby, what's up?" Like, where can they go to reach out and contact you?
Yeah. So everything is pretty much the same. So our website is wearecapturedphoto.com.
Okay.
Instagram and Facebook are both We Are Captured Photo. So pretty easy. And yeah, if you ever want to reach out, I'm happy to be friends. I'm happy to grab coffee, whatever you want.
Awesome. It's beautiful, and you've got some really colorful and pretty images on your Instagram too. So go and check out their website and Instagram. Cool. Well, thanks for coming on, and I hope everyone who's listening has a wonderful rest of their day. Thanks for listening to Contagious Victories.